Many have heard the name Molly Pitcher, but who was she and how did Molly Pitcher become famous? Molly Pitcher has become a name synonymous with women who were active contributors during the Revolutionary War. While this name becomes an almost generic title that was more than likely attributed to different women and acts throughout the Revolutionary War, the story most likely originates with a woman named Mary Ludwig. Mary Ludwig was married to her husband, William Hayes. Hayes was an artilleryman in the Continental Army. Mary Ludwig followed her husband, who was in Washington's command throughout several parts of the war. Mary Ludwig, like several other women during this period, would bring pitchers of water to men as they were actively battling the British. During one such battle, the Battle of Monmouth, Mary Ludwig was bringing water to soldiers as her husband was killed near his cannon. The following story was recorded by Joseph Plum Martin in his diary, which later went on to print as Memoirs of a Revolutionary Soldier. Martin's account became widely popular and historically significant as it gave details and first-hand accounts as a private in General Washington's Continental Army. In Martin's account, Mary Ludwig's husband fell. She went to his position near the cannon and began swabbing and loading the cannon as he lay there dying. For her actions, Mary Ludwig later received commendations from General George Washington himself. Another Molly, who has been attributed to the myth of Molly Pitcher, was another camp follower named Captain Molly. Captain Molly served a gun at the Battle of Fort Washington in 1776. That Molly was a woman named Margaret Corbin. While the actual identity of who Molly Pitcher is may never be known, what there are numerous accounts of brave women who risked their own life to help the cause of the Revolution. More likely than not, the idea of Molly Pitcher is a conglomeration of such stories and their contributions. The name and the myth of Molly Pitcher has become a symbol of early female patriotism and bravery. Several books that cite contributions of Molly Pitcher was one by D. Carter, and there is an image on my post of Molly Pitcher swabbing and loading the cannons, and the image depicts a popular American Revolutionary legend. It's Molly Pitcher, and she had been carrying water to her husband's artillery crew when he was wounded, and she takes the place for the remainder of the battle. Another historian, Mark Cunningham, he wrote a book called Molly Pitcher, the Woman Who Fought in the War. He says the popular opinion among historians is that stories of several young women who helped out during the American Revolution got merged and attributed to Mary Ludwig. All young women who carried water to the soldiers were called Molly Pitcher. He says it's very difficult to say what is true and what is just legend and what has been added to these stories as they travel down from generation to generation. And the last piece is from David Wade, who he says, from those vague accounts, the legend was born. She became an embattled American Amazonian with a bucket in one hand and a sponge staff in the other, facing down the grenadiers over a smoking cannon barrel. Or sometimes she was depicted as a blushing maiden, head bowed, who was presented to the great General Washington himself for commendation. In my post there are two popular images of the idea of Molly Pitcher manning cannons during, both of those were during the Battle of Monmouth.